Hello. I want to talk to you about Mercury retrograde because I love Mercury retrograde and I want you to be excited about it. And I want you to love Mercury retrograde as much as I do. So basically, Mercury retrograde is very, it's like overrated and underrated at the same time. Mercury retrograde gets blamed for everything bad. So it's like something bad happens and it's like, oh, it's Mercury retrograde, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. Mercury retrograde can be your best friend if you know how to work with it, because really these planets and these planetary activities, it's like weather. Think of it as cosmic weather. Actually, if you know me, you know that I love to be outside. So I really wanted to do this little Periscope outside. And so I went outside and it was raining. So I went inside to film it. So this is like what Mercury retrograde's like. It's like, don't go outside if it's raining and try to do an outdoorsy thing if you don't have the weather for it. So if you really understand this as like a cosmic weather, if you really understand what this energy is and how to harmonize yourself with it, you're going to love, love, love it. So Mercury is the fastest planet in our solar system. It's closest to the sun and it zips around 4 times the speed that the Earth does. So basically, Mercury is like a super fast energy, right? So it's like Quicksilver, right? It's known as Quicksilver. So your thoughts are associated with Mercury and how you communicate is associated with Mercury. And here's the thing. In our society, we are zipping around super duper fast. And it seems like Mercury retrograde happens all the time, but it doesn't. And it seems like it's random. It's actually very predictable. It happens 3 or 4 times a year for 3 weeks. You'll notice the end of each Mercury retrograde and the beginnings 3 months apart. It's like clockwork. So it's a cyclical thing. And here's the thing. Us in Western society, we don't pay attention to natural cycles. We like zip along, going with our goals. Like we get an idea in our head, and these ideas that you get in your head, that's associated with Mercury, because Mercury is your thoughts and your ideas. So you get this idea in your head and you get this goal. And it may be inspired to begin with, because when you're relaxed and when you get all these downloads and you feel like really good about something, that's an idea. It comes into your head. It's inspired, and then it's something that gets you motivated and moving. But what happens is there's always these reevaluation points. There's always, there's ebbs and flows with everything. The moon ebbs and flows. Everything is cyclical. So even Mercury, which is this planet that zips around, right? It zips around our sun. Even that has this period where, from the Earth's perspective, it appears to be moving backwards because we're like catching up with this, kind of like when 2 cars are like zoom, zoom, right? So in these moments, that's when we are meant to do all the things with the RE words, like reevaluate, revisit, reassess, reanalyze, regroup, redo, repair. So when that happens, we have to, instead of moving forward, it's our time to catch up with our own intuitions and our own insights, because you're picking up like only a tiny piece of the information that's available to you. And you're picking up a lot of intuitive information that you don't have a chance to process. So it's a cyclical thing. It's a cyclical part of your manifesting, just like the moon ebbs and flows. It's a cyclical part of your manifesting that you have to regroup, reassess, revise. So if you understand that, and if you understand that this is not a time to go ahead and like make new plans or start new projects or do new things, but it is an amazing time to go back and tidy up loose ends. Like for instance, I have been loving this Mercury retrograde because I've had a lot of things on my website that I wanted to do to make like the fonts easier to read and like certain graphics that I wanted redone, and all this stuff I'm doing now, because even though I have a bazillion projects ahead of me, this is my base, right? So I'm going back and I'm fixing things and I'm making things better to read, and I'm looking at all the ways that I wrote maybe product descriptions or things like that, and I'm revising them to make it easier for you to understand what the products are about, because now I have a different perspective, because when I first wrote them I was in one phase, and now I have a different understanding of how they can help people, so I can write that again, or I could look at my website with that kind of perspective. So it's very much about going back. So let's say you're writing a book, right? Or a blog or a project or whatever. This isn't a time to like make the new chapters, but this is a great time for you to edit and put things in a good order. So like I've been using this too to like go through my home, and if there's clothes that are not like fresh anymore, they don't represent me or they don't make me feel good about myself, they're gone. But it's maybe not the best time to buy a new wardrobe, even though I'm sort of still doing some of that. I can't help myself. But it's maybe not the best time for that. But really, it's about going through things, getting through those piles. And it's a great time because Mercury is associated with communication. So let's say you have had this conversation that has been needing to happen between you and somebody, or you and a lot of people. It's a great time to have that conversation. Or this is a great time. One of the things I've been doing is some of my friends that I haven't had a chance to talk with, instead of like working, which is just not a good idea anytime, right? But instead of doing that, if I have time to do something maybe productive, that's what I want to do, is call some of my friends and catch up with them, because this is very much about catching up energy. So think of it as about like streams, right? So if you're trying to swim upstream, when the stream is going a different direction, you're going to feel like what's going on. And the other thing is that things do break during Mercury retrograde. And I really want to put this in perspective for you, because here's the thing. Let's say your refrigerator is like, it's had a hum for a while, right? It's just something that needed to be looked at. And you just don't really pay attention, or you don't notice it or whatever. And then all of a sudden, one day during Mercury retrograde, just after you bought a whole bunch of shopping with perishables, it breaks, right? And you're like, damn you, Mercury retrograde, curse the gods. But here's what happens. It's something that has been like trying to get your attention, or maybe you didn't even pay attention, or maybe it was something that was under the surface that you couldn't see. So it was trying to like get your attention this whole time, but then all of a sudden during Mercury retrograde, it breaks. And here's the other thing. It doesn't just break randomly. It's always something that was not quite right to begin with. So during these Mercury retrograde cycles, things break down. Communication breaks down. Appliances break down. Computers break down. The systems break down. Because like you'll maybe discover things that like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this wrong the whole entire time and I didn't even realize it. And it's so frustrating at the time. But if you think about it, this is helping you in the long run. Because imagine if you had something big wrong with like your car and you never addressed it and you didn't know about it. And then like one day you're driving and your tire just falls off. But like that would be a worse thing, right? But like, let's say during Mercury retrograde, let's say your tire's loose and then it just kind of something, like you take it in for oil change and then like, hey, you need like $400 of repair. That's actually going to help you in the long run be safer, save time and money. So the more you look at these things in that perspective, like, hey, the universe is doing me a solid. The universe is helping me out because these things needed looked at. And if I was too busy racing ahead, doing all these things, the very foundations that make your life run wouldn't be functioning as well as if you took this time now and repair it. So please remember that when these frustrating things happen. And there's been a lot of things that I discover every Mercury retrograde just about the way I think in terms of like my consciousness. And yes, it is about hitting the reset button. It's all things with the RE word: reset, reboot, reinvent, relax, rejuvenate. So here's the thing. When, it's called the trickster, and there's some mischief involved. And you have to, this is with everything. And this is one of the things my spirit guides are very persistent about. They're constantly joking. And they're constantly, spirit is light and they're trying to get you to lighten up. So like, shiz happens and it goes down and it's crazy, but it's to help you reevaluate your own self-worth. That's about what reevaluate is about. So I'll give you an example. So because this is Mercury retrograde and I am very attuned to the cycles of planets in the universe, and I really pay attention to the cosmic weather. So I'm using this time to go through things. So one of the things that I did this month is there's something you can do with your newsletter list. Like if you can see if people haven't opened your newsletters in a long time and they maybe just signed up for my free numerology book, which is awesome. And if you don't have it, get it. Or something like that. Or they signed up for something and then they're, how it is with newsletters and emails. It's, it can be overwhelming. So I never want to spam anybody. So I always want people on my list and people in my life to be a really good vibrational match. People we really all like each other and want to be with each other. So basically I had my tech person go through and see who hasn't been on my list for a while and who hasn't opened emails in X amount of months or whatever. And then I sent them a newsletter saying hey, if you want to, if you still want to be with me, great. And here's a little something, something. And if you don't want to be with me, no problem, just opt out. Well, anyway, as it turned out, it looked like I sent that to all of my new subscribers too. So basically anyone who just signed up, let's say you signed up 3 days ago, and then you get this email hey, long time no haven't seen you for a while. And they'd be like, what just happened? So I had him send another email that says oh yeah, hey, by the way, that was an accident and it's Mercury retrograde. So anyway, so here's the thing. So let's say that was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, or maybe longer, whatever. I would have been freaking out because I would be thinking, oh no, what do they think of me? These are all new people. They're going to think I'm flaky. They're going to be so confused. And some people even opt out. Some of these new people are yeah, I'm out of here. And so I would be oh no, I lost all these new people. What can I do to get them back? And this scrambling energy. But because this is, especially because it's Mercury retrograde, I had, you have to have even more of a sense of humor that you have to remember the universe has your back. So here's the thing. That incident actually helped me heal perfectionist tendencies, because it's the perfectionist part of all of us that thinks, oh no, I didn't do this exactly right and they're not going to like me for it and now they're going to leave. And here's the other thing. It's a sense, it helps evaluate your self-worth too, because let's say people who just signed up for you and you sent this email that's hey, here's a gift for you for staying with me or whatever, and they don't like you for it and they decide to opt out, they're not people that are a vibrational match for you, right? So how often do you do that? How often do you hold on to things and people because you're afraid that that something better is not going to come along, and so you have all these perfectionist tendencies because you're thinking oh no, if I don't do this exactly perfect, if I don't present myself in exactly the perfect way, then they're not going to stay with me. So do you see how the trickster energy really helped me reevaluate my perfectionist tendencies and my own self-worth with that kind of potentially ridiculous thing or embarrassing or whatever? But really what it boils down to is, if they don't realize that I'm a total goofball. And if they want me to be perfect, I'm probably not the right person to be on their newsletter. Do you understand how that works? So I hope that this helps you really make the most of this. Any Mercury retrograde, they happen every 3 months for 3 weeks, and there's actually shadow periods before and after. So we're in it quite a lot. It's like a quarter of the year. And so we really need that time to, instead of moving ahead, to reassess, reevaluate, reset, rejuvenate, renew, all those RE things. So I really hope this helped you, and I'm wishing you a happy Mercury retrograde. And I wish you a happy, happy day every day. Lots of love. Bye for now.